that passive income to be able to help other family members out. We want to be able to help our siblings, help our parents, and do things that we want to do to help them enjoy the lives that they want to enjoy.
Welcome to The Conscious Investor. Let's get started. Welcome back, Conscious Investor. Man, the sun is shining. I've got a phenomenal guest for you. We're going to definitely serve and support you in a powerful way. Good friend of mine has an amazing meetup group. And so we're going to get into that in just a moment. But before we do, please make sure. Some people will say, hey, if you're going to listen to the show, we put a lot of money into producing this show. Help us out, support the show. It's free to you. Please support the show by leaving an honest rating and review. I don't know that people realize how much goes into production and things like that, but yeah, it is. So if you can show some love back this way, if this podcast is bringing value into your life, would you please do two things? One, leave a rating and review, whatever honest you want to do. And two, share it with someone else. Pick your favorite episode, share it with that person and say, hey, check out this podcast. Another way, like speaking of love, I'm holding up my phone. Remember, I check once a week, and I was at the gym when I checked, and I just saw this. Actually, my son read this to me. He's like, "Oh, Mom, let me read that to you." I'm like, "Sure." So he read it in this very narrator kind of voice. It was really fun. But anyway, G4 Rules 2019. Thanks so much for leaving such an awesome review. You said, "Great podcast. Julie does an amazing job of keeping it interesting." I try to follow curiosity, don't I? I love how she covers so many things that are of great importance to entrepreneurs, like mindset, how to control your time, financial freedom, productivity hacks, etc. I also love how you get to know Julie through her series. To hear her talk about the importance of reevaluating decisions and pivoting when necessary, she did an episode 342. What I learned when I quit 75 Hard was great. Wow, that's so cool to know like what episode stood out to you. And I totally appreciate that, G4 Rules 2019. You can follow suit and leave your own honest rating and review. Greatly, tremendously appreciated. Also, please remember the show is sponsored by Mode Wealth. Tax season is upon us. It's right around the corner. Please make sure that you are reporting your taxes at tax time and not discovering the mess that it is, right? And so we want to create a plan at the beginning of the year, and then we want to report how that plan worked out at the end of the year through our taxes. So if you need support in that, if you were looking for a way to ethically, morally, above board, utilize the tax code so that, you are, have a reduced tax liability and burden, please make sure you check out Mode Wealth. Let them know that the Conscious Investor sent you. All right. I'm so excited to have Chris in the house today. His meetup group is fantastic. Meeting him in person last year at an event was fantastic. I believe that event was Dealmaker Live. And if you're not headed there at the beginning of June, what are you waiting for? Make sure you buy your tickets now. It's a great event. But Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julie, very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Gosh, I've been looking forward to this. We've had this scheduled out for some time. And that's kind of the fun thing, the anticipation of like, oh my gosh, I get to see a friend and we get to, serve people powerfully.
That's right. I think it's all about this. And I really love that you have this platform and that you connect with so many great people to be able to share this information. It's powerful. And when there's not a lot of knowledge and awareness about it, you doing your part to connect it to folks is just so valuable. So huge shout out to you.
Thank you. And you're doing your part. So let's just give a spoiler right now. You have an awesome virtual meetup. That means anybody across the nation can join this meetup. Tell us about what your goals are with your meetup. When do you meet, and just give us the details.
That's right. So the name of my meetup is Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Virtual Meetup. We are based out of the Westchester County area in New York, so the other side of the country from where you are. But yes, this meetup is really very much focused on helping folks increase their financial intelligence. That's the wealth mindset side of it, and then also helping them learn about the power and the value of investing passively in real estate investing. And so one of the main drivers as to why we have it as a virtual meetup is the fact that in situations like this, I get a chance to have great unlimited speakers that are great, like you and others that have spoken on the meetup, to educate the members of the meetup and help them understand about things like syndications or other things like how to invest in real estate using your retirement funds. And there's so many things that open people's minds. And I feel privileged to be able to provide that information to folks so that they can get onto their journey of financial freedom.
And you do a great job. I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to, present at your meetup group. And it is such a friendly, welcoming group. And I've been to many different, virtual meetup groups. And so every group has its own culture and tone. And I felt so welcomed there. It was just a pure delight.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. We try to welcome all of our guests with warmth and just appreciation for them investing the time in all of us to help drop some gems of knowledge onto everybody. And that's just so appreciated. And then I think sometimes people get a little gun shy, like, can we really ask questions? But then once they open up and are able to tap in and just, pull out the information and use that to apply to their lives, again, that's the power of that is so amazing. So I really appreciate you taking the time and connecting with us. And we'll have you back in soon one day.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely have to redo that. Like, have it another session. It was so much fun. Well, we're talking about passive investing. You and I are both like just servants that want to support educating people in going about passive investing in powerful ways. And you have your own passive investing, journey. And I'm just wondering if, you'd like to share, how did you get involved?
Sure. So, yeah, my story is one that many may have heard of, but I do have some unique twists there. And so my wife and I, years ago, we owned our little condo, and we were living in. We happened to buy it at the height of the market back in 2006, and we were planning on we staying there and just enjoying it. And when we got to a place where we were ready to start our family, we really got to a point where we're like, okay, well, we want to start a family. We want to be able to have a place for our little person to grow up and live. What are we going to do? And so we looked at selling that condo. And of course, everyone knows the 2008 financial crisis really crushed a lot of real estate at that point in time due to certain things. And we were actually in a position where we just weren't able, we didn't want to sell it at a loss. So we decided to hold on to it. And when we held on to it and we started to rent it out, and it rented out really quickly, and we started to see these little deposits of income coming in from our rental property. And for many years we really didn't think much about it. We were pretty much passive about it and just making sure that it was regularly or routinely rented out by a tenant. But then something magical happened for us. We fast forward a few years later. In 2017, 2018, my wife and I, we really were, at points in our careers from a corporate perspective where we wanted to start, building something for ourselves. And so we were looking at, potentially investing in different businesses and maybe buying a franchise. And we looked at a franchise model to be able to buy something, but after some due diligence, we just decided that, that is just not going to work for us. We had gotten to a point where we were actually getting ready to purchase something, but again, it just wasn't going to work out. but that burn and passion for building a business for ourselves and finding something that and doing something that we could grow, and that entrepreneurial spirit was all still there. And we read the Purple Book, and Rich Dad Poor Dad opened our minds to something that was really powerful. And we started learning more about, hey, this little property that we have can actually be something. And that sort of the rest kind of goes on from there. And I can certainly unpack it, but this thinking back to those times was just so remarkable in that it opened our mind to so many different things that, hey, real estate has some real power here that we need to explore. And that's kind of where our story from a real estate perspective began.
I love that, accidental landlords, we talked about it off air. It's like, it's so fun. There are so many people that were made accidental landlords by way of the Great Recession. And so I would say that was a great byproduct of the, turmoil the economy went through for a lot of people. It was difficult, but it also presented a whole host of opportunities. And the other element is so cool that, really, when we are seeking after our vision, when we're pursuing it, and we, especially as married couples, if we are aligned together and we create that vision and we remind each other of it, we're going to land where we need to land. And so I like that you guys were looking at different elements, and you were open, you were agile, you're looking at what are the options available to us, and not leaving things off the table, and then ultimately having that discovery of, wait a second, this real estate thing, why are we doing this? Now, quick question. How important was it for you and your wife to just be hands off, in the sense of what were you trying to achieve through the investment process? Just trying to grow a huge, were you trying to be like Scrooge McDuck and have like just piles of money, or like?
Yeah, look, that's a great question. So the way we started with this, once we had this property and we kept renting it out and we kept increasing the rents and we were seeing some steady cash flow coming in, that was all great. It was awesome, right? But then, we were self-managing. Mainly, I was self-managing. So when a tenant would turn over, I was cleaning it. If there was something happening at the place, they would call me. I would have to go and address it. And then that's the part of it that I really wasn't liking. And I will answer your question directly. But one of the things that we started to do in that time is like, hey, if we have this one that's taking off this much income from a property, how many will we need in order to create some financial freedom? In other words, how many single family homes would we need to accumulate to be able to get to our financial freedom number? And this happened, this process we went through years later, after as we've been continuing to rent out this property. And at that time, we looked at that number of single family homes and turnkey properties that we wanted to invest in. And all of a sudden we looked at each other and we said, that's a whole lot of single family houses. I don't know. And that's a whole lot of time. I don't know whether or not we can go ahead and focus on that. Maybe we have to find another way. And so we went down this path of really deep down the path of podcasts and YouTube videos and attending different meetups and other conferences. And all of a sudden I heard some people talking about this thing called real estate syndication. And so, that opened my eyes to, hey, this is something that we could expand into, but really don't know how. So that's sort of, how we kind of got to this place of looking at transitioning, or not transitioning, but looking at single family homes and these rental properties as a way to generate passive income. But we didn't know what strategy we wanted to execute. We didn't decide on if we wanted to go entirely down turnkey rentals, or if we wanted to move down the path of bigger buildings and syndicating, or working with syndicators to invest in buildings, which I know we might talk about later. But that's how we got to that place. So it wasn't necessarily about the, swimming in the Scrooge McDuck, bank there, but it was about creating some financial freedom for us to have the flexibility and time to do the things that we wanted to do and that we love to do.
Nice. Now, was that a goal with your financial freedom? Some people, they want the flexibility with time. Some people want to leave whatever, job they're at, or some people, like, everybody has like a idea with time freedom. So what kind of time freedom do you guys want in your life?
That's right. Our main drivers, our why was really to hit on a few things. We wanted to be able to have that freedom of choice. Working in corporate America as corporate executives, both my wife and I, we want the ability to do the work that we want to do because we love to do it, and not because it's an absolute mandate. And because in order to fund our lifestyle and what we want to provide for our kids and all of those things. And so we want to be able to really have that opportunity to create that time freedom. And so if that option, one of those things is making jobs an option. If we choose to work because we're passionate about what we're doing, then we will do it. And that was one of the key drivers. We also were super passionate and are super passionate about creating that passive income to be able to help other family members out. We want to be able to help our siblings, help our parents, and do things that we want to do to help them enjoy the lives that they want to enjoy. We want to travel more. We want to give more. All of the things that being an investor from a real estate perspective and generating that income, those are some of the things that we really were key drivers for our why behind getting into real estate. And I will tell you that we spent a good day just sort of nailing down all of these things. And I would really encourage your listeners, when they think about these things, to really approach it with that mindset. Don't just kind of carelessly go about it and just hope that things happen. My wife and I, we invested a lot of time, goal setting and sitting down and talking about the things that we wanted to accomplish from all aspects of life, including our real estate business. And so when we sat down and talked about our why behind all of this, this was one of the key drivers.
Okay. The conscious investor invests in multiple ways. The conscious investor knows, like, we invest in our health, we invest in our mindset, and we invest financially. And when we look at health, we have our physical shells that we live in for, a space between the dashes on a tombstone. And then we also have our relationship health. And I love that it sounds like, from everything you're saying, like, you and your wife have just been extremely intentional about your relationship and building a life together. Is that something that was like, it's just how you guys have always been, or did you have to figure that out along the way?
That's a great question. In fact, it is something that we had to grow into and we had to figure out along the way. And one of the things that really struck us a few years ago was that we think about how much time as corporate professionals we invest in goal setting for what we're going to do with our companies and with our teams, but are we really making that type of an investment into the lives that we're trying to build together? And when we looked at each other, we really, we couldn't answer that question with a straight face and confidence, saying that no, we don't invest in our lives together and what we want to do and accomplish together as a family in the same way that we invest in the things that we're doing in our W-2 jobs. And so we made a hard pivot, maybe more aggressive than others, that in terms of how we wanted to go about doing things. And several years ago, we decided to get out of the idea of just resolutions, but sitting down and investing, a week or a couple of weeks before the end of the year, to look out into the new year and say, what are our goals as, spiritually? What are our goals mentally? What are our goals physically? What about financially? What about from a business perspective? What are the things that we want to do to be able to grow ourselves, for our family, all of those things? And we would invest the time to be able to do that so that we know or knew where we were driving throughout the course of the year. And to that conscious investor out there, you have to really, pause and reflect and think about how much time do you invest in your relationship and your future for what you're working on. Is it really just a few moments of writing down some resolutions of what you want to accomplish for the year? Are you really investing into the goals and that you want to be able to accomplish in that year ahead? And I would tell you that if you make that investment and you stick to it, those things will materialize for you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so interesting to hear, the stories. And, conscious investor, maybe you haven't been that intentional in your relationship, and that we figure things out in life. Steve and I have been figuring this out over the last few years. It's something that is become more and more intentional every year. We just add another layer into it. And so, don't beat yourself up. Don't be like, oh, they do it, I can't do it. No, say like, oh, wow. Chris and his wife discovered this. Julie and her husband discovered this. And like, they have created this level of intentionality, and it shifts the relationship in a really powerful way and shifts your life. And so I want to encourage you to hear this as encouragement, as like role model, like Chris. So you guys are role models, like big time. So it's like, just look at them as role models and saying like, hey, wait, we need to have somebody that's ahead of us at setting a cadence and pace. And if you're already doing this, don't keep it to yourself. A lot of people need role models who are doing this well or doing it at all. Conscious investor, let's face it, you probably don't feel like you're doing it well, but we all need role models who are trying to accomplish this in their life, trying to be intentional in these areas of their relationship. So don't keep it to yourself. Don't be like, okay, oh, we don't need to tell anybody. We goal set and plan, and we're being. No, talk to other couples about this. Make sure your kids know about this. So it's being woven into the people around you.
Absolutely. And Julie, I would just like to add to what you were saying. I think, the just in being vulnerable here, right? This is when we first started this, it was a lot more tension in that conversation than it was, sort of just, oh, let's come together and all these things. And it's going to be a fun day for us, or a few days for us to spend in goal setting for the year. There was emotions, and there was a process of getting on the same page in terms of understanding. And, now we always, when we come into it, we always look at each other and we say, hey, we're on the same team here. We're working towards the same goal. Let's approach it with that mindset. And then just a level set. And it's just those things, those connections that Allison and I have, that we make that. And then it allows us to really go into that process with an open mind and open heart to be able to, set the plans forth that we want to accomplish for our family in the new year.
Okay. I love that you said that, and I appreciate it, because I will tell you, even recently, Steve and I sat down to just like look at what a calendar looks like for the next year. And there are some things that I may or may not, I'll throw myself under the bus. I was like, what on earth? And, it's like, but it's also a way that you really get to know each other. You really get to hear, wow, what does my spouse really want to accomplish? And
right.
The partnership, we want to help each other, accomplish and thrive in life. And so you definitely have to be open-minded.
Absolutely.
Wow. Oh, I love that. And conscious investor, I know this is an important conversation for you, and you probably know somebody. If this isn't like helping you chuckle because you can see your own personal growth in your relationship, it might be something that is going to support someone else. Make sure you share this. I was going to ask you why you wanted financial freedom, and then you elaborated on that. And so, how did you started getting into passive investing? And so let's just like circle back to that, like, gosh, I love passive income. It's just beautiful. So I'm just going to go there. But how did you find your first passive deal? It sounded like you were part of some groups, but I mean, you're trusting somebody with a significant amount of money. And so how'd you go about the feelings and that process and the vetting?
Yeah, look, it was one of those things that once we sort of our brains got unlocked with Rich Dad Poor Dad, and we went down the journey of all the other audiobooks or physical books, and all of the podcasts and all of the YouTube videos that once you enter into this world, and it's amazing. But just a quick nod out there to how much information is out there that is free, like this content that you put out there that helps unlock people's minds. That was a big step. And then, but what took us further was then we started learning about meetups, and we had been members of meetups, but for other causes. And before, I remember when we were younger, we were in meetups looking to learn new languages. And then, but then we went back to meetup and we started seeing, hey, there's a meetup for this real estate investing group in our area or in a neighboring town or state. I started attending events. I started meeting different people, different sponsors. So really getting educated, I would say, is the short story on that. And then when we thought about our goals and the ROI and building passive income, being able to build generational wealth for our family and change the trajectory of our lives. Yes, we've done well as professionals, but we know that if we add on top of that investor and successful investor to that from a real estate perspective, that can really change the trajectory of our family's lives for generations. And so we were really very much focused on that. And the Andrew Carnegie quote comes to mind about, how most people can build their wealth through real estate. And I'm paraphrasing that, but that is really one of the key drivers around why we went down this path. So after we went down this journey of being able to connect with different operators and learn from them and build relationships with them, I can't stress this enough. It was not just me showing up and, hey, I want to invest with you, but I'm going to these conferences, I'm going to these meetups, I'm connecting with folks. We're keeping connected over time, and they walk me through the process, and then all of a sudden, we go from, hey, we're talking and learning about multifamily to, hey, Chris, remember we talked about these types of deals that we're investing in? Well, it just so happens that we have one upcoming. Would you like to take a look at it? And I had invested enough time and effort to getting myself educated to at that point that I was ready to start pulling the trigger and investing passively so that I can really learn the game. My wife said something else, and she says, at what point are you going to, stop, soaking in all this information, and when are you going to start doing something? So that was sort of one of those nudges right there to say, okay, we're in this together. Let's take this step.
Oh, I love this. I absolutely love this. And, conscious investor, passive investing means you're not dealing with traditional tenants and toilets and all of that, but you do some work up front. You are taking time, investing in relationships and knowledge. And it's so beautiful how you guys went about doing this. I am totally curious. This is a little off topic, but I cannot help but follow this curious question as to, it sounds like you and your wife are in lockstep together. And is she reading? Because a lot of times what I found, like, I was the champion and the pioneer for my family. And my husband, he, comes along and he loves it and he participates in things, but I was kind of like the first pioneer. And so oftentimes there's like one spouse. It just seems like you guys are reading the stuff and doing this really lockstep together. Is that accurate?
I would say somewhat, but I would say it was more of the structure that you talked about, where in this case I'm more of the pioneer, and I would and like you, have a passion for real estate and for helping others learn more about this asset class. Whereas where she was certainly open to learning more and supportive of the things that I was doing as I was going down this journey, but not to the level that I was, or like you were, where we couldn't stop talking about it. Every car road trip was a podcast that we were going to listen to, or something that I found. I'm like, oh, listen to this, you're gonna love it. And I'm like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And she's like, okay, yeah. But it's one of those things that she definitely is my biggest supporter, and was passionate that I was so passionate about something, and continues to be my biggest supporter in this. But she is open to continue to soak in the information, probably not at the clip that I'm learning it as. Whereas I'm passing information back, and she's like, you just finished that. I still got so many. I haven't finished the one that you referred to me 3 months ago. So it's really cool. But we have a good, solid relationship to that. I'm just so appreciative that she is so supportive and open-minded and to this, and connected, and expanding her knowledge on it now, because I can imagine for those who don't have that support and who don't have that type of relationship with their spouse or significant other, to where it's conflicting and they're on different pages, and that friction could be uncomfortable, to say the least. So I'm just very grateful to have a spouse that's so supportive of the things that I'm doing, and then when as the results come in, that also helps too.
Yeah, proof of concept makes everybody happy.
That's right.
Well, I really appreciate you, like letting us look under the hood on that, a little bit, because, it's a true partnership. And so while, Steve enjoys, the single family and small multifamily space, like, that's fine. I cheer him on. He likes it. That's great. I'm going to stick with large multifamily and the syndication model. But it's interesting how in a partnership, and marriage is a partnership, it's just, okay, like, great, I can high five you and support you, and you're high fiving me and supporting me, and we both know the destination where we're headed. And that's just really powerful. It's a true partnership, meaning we don't all have to be doing the exact same thing. In fact, we can go further faster when we're iterating and doing whatever is our zone of genius.
That's right. I love that, and I love that you guys have this bouncing out. It's a team, right? And his passion and interest are there, and yours are in another space. And I think it's really important. Like we talk about this a lot in our household, that yes, it's important for us to grow together, but it's also important, recognizing that, people have different areas of growth that they want to have as well. And being able to do that is so very important as well. But so long as you're growing together and you're keeping that connection, I think those are powerful. And in fact, I remember I was listening to another episode of yours and saw some social media post of yours where you're talking about sending your husband away for a while. And I'm like, I need Allison to listen to that one, because I like that idea.
Oh, you know what? Please do. We encourage that episode to be shared. In fact, even on our calendar, we have his days mapped out for him because that was something that was so transformational. Now, for me, as we said in that episode, by the way, I think it was episode 331, you guys, where it's, Steve Hawley, my husband, he's the guest, and it's a fantastic episode. I highly recommend it, and then share it. But, I don't need the amount of time that he needs. And our needs are different. So like recognizing what are the needs. And so if I can have my growth day with, my few people that are my people, my tribe, that actually rejuvenates me. And then I have a thinking day each month. So like, figuring out like, what is it that we need so that we can continuously refill each other. And he's not going away. It's like only in the summer months. He's going away to go fishing. I don't know. He's going to go dirt bagging.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. And by the way, that just means like a lot of you need to go back to your hobbies that you had and resurrect your hobbies. Sometimes as we get into our family life and our career life, our hobbies, we just start to turn gray and turn into a blur. So don't become a blur, like dip back into those hobbies. It's really important. Chris, I knew that this is going to that we could talk on and on because, we just have such a shared philosophy in life.
Yes.
And this has just been absolutely just such a fabulous conversation. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Is there anything as we're kind of winding down here, are there any cautionary tales or any hey, if you're getting into passive investing, hear this. This is really important for you to understand or know, your top advice.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. And I agree. I was looking forward to this as well, and just connecting with you, and your energy is just, it's infectious. But what I would tell your listeners is that are two things. One is, I stressed this at the beginning, and that's, getting educated, about this space and the power that it has, and what it can do for you, and knowing that you don't have to invest in your backyard and just invest in single families and small multifamilies, that you can scale up. And by the way, you can syndicate not only multifamilies, but you can syndicate many other things like self-storage facilities and assisted living facilities. So getting educated on this asset class, the operators that are in it, and the types of impact that it can have for your life is what I would say is the most important. And next to that, as you do that, one of the things that I think is so important for people to recognize is that they don't need to try and do it on their own. There are systems out there to help you get educated, to help you put yourself on the fast track. And yes, they are some investments to be able to learn how to do these things. But these people have created businesses to help you go further, faster. So don't be afraid to invest in systems, and that whether that is investing in, if you have a single family portfolio and you want to start moving into multifamily, think about investing in the system of getting a good property manager. If you are really getting into real estate investing and you want to benefit from the tax advantages, maybe work with CPAs who are experienced and skilled in real estate. And the list goes on. Especially the last thing I'll say is around for those investors who maybe aren't necessarily familiar with the fact that, hey, you can invest some of your retirement money into real estate. And many investors that I talk to don't realize that. And if they can recognize that and learn that, and then learn the systems that they can invest in to get their own control of their retirement account, so that they can choose what they want to invest in real assets, those things can be game changers for their retirement. So I know I went on there, but thank you for allowing me to share.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And I want to encourage you, conscious investor, as you're investing, one of the first investments that we made a passive investment, and then we actually joined a mastermind. And those mastermind groups are absolutely powerful if you're active or passive, because it gets you into a like-minded group of people. And so you're not going to just go join any old mastermind. You're going to be thoughtful, and more than likely, I know that the mastermind that we joined is very like-minded people. And so that just kind of helps alleviate a lot of pressure, as it is just in getting to know people. It's we speak the same language. Because everybody here is kind of a similar mindset and philosophy in life and philosophy in investing. And so it really kind of collapses that timeline of being able to find people that you're going to trust to invest in. So, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a kindest group in the multifamily space specifically, but even in the real estate space generally, just the kindest people that you can meet are in this space.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I call it, being a part of my tribe. And when I go to these conferences and meetings and I'm able to connect with people like you and others and just be in that energy to be learning and growing together, it's so valuable. And it is, and everyone is just so kind, so nice. And I just love that we're all growing together, and that everyone is that like-minded individual that is ready to then just go back and take on the world once they leave those conferences. And I just it's just so valuable. So I couldn't agree more with what you're saying.
I love it. Chris, if anyone is looking to connect up with you, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yes, well, they can reach out to me at www.redfoxmultifamily.com/consultation/, and they can book an appointment with me to just connect and get to know me, and I can a little bit more beyond today. And I'd love to get to a chance to know them, and talk about how we can maybe partner together. Just keep in touch. I just love connecting with people. So please reach out.
He's real about that. Conscious investor, he's 100% genuine with that. So make sure you take time to connect up. And I have a virtual schedule. It's a Google Calendar that has virtual meetup groups on it, and it has Chris's meetup group specifically on it. So if you are looking to, like, oh my gosh, I want to get involved with meetup groups, or I want to get involved specifically with Chris's meetup group, shoot me an email and I will send you a link to that calendar so that you can see what's available. And definitely Chris's group, you already feel his warmth as you're listening or watching to this episode. And it's like, you know that, like, just his sincerity and his authenticity, he's truly there to serve and support you. So make sure that if you're feeling that connection, especially, you want to make sure you go to his meetup group.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on the show. And Conscious Investor, you're amazing. I am grateful for you. Remember, financial freedom, it can leave you relationally bankrupt, and you don't want that. So make sure if you're chasing and pursuing financial freedom, you are also pursuing personal freedom. If you need help via finding your next investment, or if you need support in, personal development and transformation, please make sure you book a time on my calendar so that I can support you through our investing or through our Conscious Investor performance coaching. Until next time, live big, love bigger, and do great things. Are you enjoying this episode? Do the world a favor and help trip the algorithm by leaving a review so that this content reaches many others.